That's what I tell new concealed carry holders. I said, marksmanship is the easy part. The hard part is recognizing a situation for what it really is, having the tactical knowledge to know that there may be other threats, that you may not want to get involved in this if you have your wife with you, for instance.
Right.
Knowing when to get involved, knowing when to be a good witness, but being capable of inflicting very effective levels of violence when that's called for. So it's hard. You also have to understand the law. And I think to some degree, you correct me if I'm wrong on this, brother, but when you have the rules of engagement and you're deploying your combat zone, that's a little different. I mean, you have a little bit more leeway when dealing with enemy combatants than you do with some panhandler who gets overly aggressive. You know, it's a different scale, and you're going to be judged differently. So you have to be able to understand the law and to make sure that you're acting within the law, but yet not be so hesitant that you're putting yourself behind the 8-ball. And what I would tell the younger cops is, the more you understand the law and our department's use of force policy, the safer you're going to be, because the less hesitant you're going to be. You're going to recognize, oop, I can do this right now. And you're going to seize that opportunity, which may not come again.
Right. Yeah. It's like the firearm safety rules, which hopefully everybody's listening, but people brush it off. I'm like, name the firearm safety rules for me. And I ask people all the time, I'm like, well, list them. Because if you don't know those intimately, you're going to be the guy that's not safe on the range. And you just don't know that connection it's designed for your and my safety and a reason to be effective, even on target. Like, those rules absolutely apply when you're in the shoot house with tier 1 operators, every one of them, to the nth degree. So it's like what you're saying about the law and the level of force and all these things, you have to study, know, and really apply that. The element of morals and what makes us come to that decision, like pulling the trigger at the end of the day and taking a life, is the last resort for all of us. We don't want to have to pull the trigger. I don't want to have to pull the trigger, but I train to do that, and I'm prepared to do that. It's like the Jordan Peterson quote, right? Like, extremely capable of violence, but we have it under voluntary control. That's what allows me to be peaceful. I know that 10 dudes could come kick the door in right now. I'll be like, sweet, I'm just going to go, get on the back, flank, use cover and concealment. It'd be fun. It'd be, a good time. But that's the mindset that in order to mitigate this stuff and in order to make the right decision, you have to expose yourself to it more, So I think that's just a decision that you have to make. But that goes back to what we were talking about understanding the law, understanding the moral aspect of it, and then also having the training to mitigate and de-escalate. Ultimately, it puts you in the position to take the best shot possible. Now you are the best and set up the best to make a good decision. When you have to pull the trigger, you do it with confidence because you know that's the only choice that you had in that moment. It could be taken away from you in a second, or it could develop over a period of hours that you finally end up pulling the trigger.
Excellent points, Dom. And that leads me to something, whereas you have to be capable of at a moment's notice performing. And that's not something that you can assume. You have to know that. And the way that you know that is by making your training more and more realistic after you've mastered the basics. So some of the force-on-force stuff that you've done and that I've done, that's not something for a new shooter, right? You got to learn the firearm safety rules. You need to learn marksmanship. But once you have a handle on that, you have to realize that that's only one small part of this much bigger problem. So it's really something that really comes into realistic training. The more you can replicate a real world event, the less of a gap you're going to have to cover when you find yourself in that situation. And I'm not to say that, training with airsoft or training with simunition closely replicates a gunfight, because I don't think that's the case, but it more closely represents than merely firing at the range the way we typically shoot. So it's a 3D world, man, and there's a lot of stuff going on, and we take for granted sometimes that the bad guy has a say. And as a cop or as a legally armed citizen, you are typically going to be relegated to the role of reacting to their actions, right? We don't dictate when someone accosts us. We just have to deal with whatever situation we're in. And oftentimes that's going to be when we're least aware and perhaps least capable of defending ourselves, right? I mean, we all have these things and we try to pretend we're not on our phones a lot, but realistically, I have to acknowledge I am on this thing a lot. So I have to make sure that when I'm on it, I'm in a relatively safe place. I'm not going to be walking down the street at night or from the ATM going like this, right? It's just, no matter how skilled you are, you're placing yourself at such a disadvantage that that's something you may not be able to overcome.
Absolutely.